Hello and welcome to OpenTTD, which is a wonderful free game that has been out for quite a while. So essentially, OpenTTD is Transport Tycoon Deluxe. It is the open source version, as it is rather old. It was in the 90s when this came out. And what I want to do is actually go through and try maybe making a series of the struggles of train management, but then also there's some mods. We're going to be starting in the 1700s. So I have some mods for the 1700s in forward, and I want to see how well it plays, and then also see how basically the area will develop going forward with such a time gap. So we're going to see how far we can take it, and we'll pretty much go from there. So as you can see, it's an isometric, kind of like think SimCity, but instead of managing the individual city streets and buildings, you're managing more like the train lines, the transport lines to supply goods to a city. You don't actually build the city up beyond the roads, and all the buildings and things are dynamically kind of generated based on how well you're doing. So let's go ahead and hop into a game here. Now, I downloaded some height maps of real places, and I'm thinking about doing some UK. As starting in the 1700s, we're going to be starting with some tall ships, and I figured UK would probably be a good match here. So we're going to go ahead and load this, and it's a rather large map. Normally, if you're playing by yourself, you don't have such a large thing. And then also, it's just the height map, so everything else is going to be randomly generated from the towns, town names, industries, things like that. So we're going to see what we get here. I'm going to set the town and industries to normal because I have some increased industry types as well to kind of make it a little bit more complicated than it has to be. We're going to start 1750. So yeah, here we go. Straight into the game. This loads rather quickly, as you can see. There we go. I have a little error from my mod list, but it looks like it didn't really affect anything there. So as you can see, we have the UK here. You know, we would have Dover in this area. We would have London about here, all the way up to Scotland, the Orkney Islands, and then of course Ireland down here. And then we have a bit of Europe as well included. So we'll see how well this goes. Now, we're the 1700s, so obviously we want to try and focus on boats rather early. And the boats, I think the best thing to do would maybe look for some fishing spots to try and get some income. Beyond the normal mods that we have, I turned off infrastructure and interest, as my testings with this mod it becomes a little too much of a burden to bear, as everything is kind of slowed down. So we might turn that back on maybe in the 1930s if we reach there, as that's kind of when everyone lost the gold standard for currency and when inflation kind of took over. So let's go ahead and find a spot here. I think Scotland's too mountainous. It might become too much of a chore to start up there. So, is there a fishing dock along this coast? Nope. We might have to start more towards the Netherlands. And there's a fishing dock here. Then also one here. So, you know, we'll start here on this peninsula here. I don't quite know the name of it. I'll probably look that up a bit later. So, we're going to start with boats. As back in this day, boats were the main economic driver for things. So let's go ahead and place down a dock here. Can't build while it's paused, kind of a shame. And let's go ahead and give it a dock as well. Whoa, we are pink. Hold on, pause. We need to come up with, I am not a female. Nope. So I'm going to load my standard, typical male business guy. There we go. New color scheme. I'm thinking, let's be green. Think that's that would be much better for everyone. There we go. Okay. So we'll be green. And let's go ahead and name ourselves. Of course, Uthris. There we go. Totally fits the time period, trust me. Company name will be, shoot. Let's go Gwenwood Transport. There we go. Very businesslike. Upper management. Alright, so we have the first dock and kind of dry dock here. So we can unpause our game and kind of get started. We'll open this up and look at some new ships. It looks like we really only have access to the brig, which is a basic tall ship here. 2-mast. So open this up and let's give it some orders to go fishing. And then return to this dock with said fish, and then also occasionally maintain here at the depot. The nice thing about Transport Tycoon is that it's a simple idea. You transport things from A to B, but the chain of transport can be rather complicated, and I can show you kind of how complicated it might be here soon. We're going to full load on fish, as ships are rather slow. And then also we're going to change the freight that it's going to be carrying to fish itself. There we go. And then we'll send it on its merry way. So that will go out and gather, looks like 50 tons of fish, come back, sell it at the dock for some profit. Now these are kind of our basic money makers here. So we'll make 2 of these boats to go out so that we have kind of a nice stream of supplies heading over in this way. And also, because this is kind of our starting town, let's go ahead and hook these 2 little things up. Maybe get a carriage route going. We can also go ahead and look at some industry. So if we click on this farm, it produces grain and sugar here. If we supply it with farming supplies, it actually would increase how much we get. So yeah, let's go ahead and display the chain here. And you can see it's going to create grain and sugar beet, and that can be taken to all these type of refineries, which can be then taken to a different type of item here. And then generally most things will end up as the store as either food, goods, or alcohol, and provide our towns with a good way to grow. The nice thing as well with these mods, the roads kind of are changed. Our first ship has arrived, and I'll be compiling a list of the mods we are using down below. So let's not waste any more time and hook up some road here. Building through farmland is rather expensive, so it is definitely best to have our farms do well. If you press X, you can hide buildings and such. And we're going to start with kind of our large bus route here. There we go. So this will be a 4-way bus stop, just so the wagons can come from any direction and have a good time finding a spot to park. I think we'll probably only be able to fit a 3-way here, but we'll probably start with just a 2, just to save money. Carriages are very slow, so that is something to keep in mind. We'll just do a single there. And then we will also, let's go ahead and look at our ship. Yep, it's about 70% full so far. We need to put down a vehicle bay. This is where we will crate our wonderful horses. So let's sort to passengers, and you can see we're just going to go with a 6-horse carriage. It is the fastest, and I figured it's probably the best to start with here. So we'll go to pretty much these 3 towns to start. So maybe we'll do this full loop, and this one will just do a single think that might be good. So we'll delete that, tell it to go to the depot for maintenance when it's needed. And we'll release that out into the world. Also make some clones of it for later. Let's go ahead and maybe work on some more road infrastructure, trying to connect these towns up as quick as possible. Early on, not going to care too much about aesthetics, but I know it's probably important to you guys. So let's see if we can't make everyone happy by the end of it. You can see how slow carriages move here, but I do like the sprite work involved with these mods are very good. The carriages look like carriages, and it has a good feeling for them. So release our second carriage now. I'm going to try and space them out so that they could possibly provide better services at a better rate here. Oh boy, connecting these two towns might be a little rough. A little rough indeed. Let's hide some buildings again so I can see what I'm doing. Let's put a thing there. This valley is causing some issues, so I may have to actually delete a building, which is not usually a good thing to do. The towns will start hating you if you mess with their buildings too much and delete too many trees around them. But now we have these 4 hooked up. Let's quickly find a bus station for them so they hopefully don't complain too much. Alright, and looks like that is about it there. How are our boats doing? Let's open up our boat tab here. So the first one has brought a profit of 2,200 already. You know what? Let's go ahead and increase the time here. Looks like we have access to a new ship early, but these brigs are probably the best for fishing now, as I believe they're relatively quick for how much they carry, and ocean fishing is definitely reliant on how quickly you can move the goods. So let's go ahead and set up another fishing route here. You get more money the farther you transport them, and then of course extra money for how quickly you do it. So let's refit this to fish. Send them out on their way. I like the little ocean bells that you hear as they leave the port. I might have to turn up my in-game sound so you guys can hear that. There we go. So we'll see how well that's registered. Let's see if you can't hear this little bell. Nope. Okay, well, didn't want to ring it. That's fine. It's probably just cutting through there for speed. Okay, so let's go ahead and new vehicle. We're going to need a new horse carriage here. As you can see, we already have a lot of people waiting here. So we need to go to this station, to that station. It's going to be a rather kind of long route. But you know what? I think I'm going to need a depot down in this direction in case they do need it. Maintenance is key. It helps keep your things running for a long period of time. So the Plondworth, put this depot kind of in between these two stops when it's needed. And then we'll put this depot kind of in between these two. There we go. It's pretty nice. It's a good solid route. It's going to take quite a while for them to get there, so we're going to need a lot of carriages to support this kind of longer distance here. So you know what? We're going to go ahead and release one just so it can start activating those routes. We're going to still relying heavily on our boats. In fact, let's go ahead and make it double speed. It's a nice single player feature there. The nice thing about OpenTTD as well is it's multiplayer, so you guys have friends. You can compete with each other as different transport companies, or you can help each other out and join the same one. This is our kind of yearly budget here, and as you can see, it's pretty rough. It's definitely rough. It's really hard to start in the 1700s, as you don't have trains. Trains are a big moneymaker in this game, so it's definitely something you might need to consider. So let's go ahead and send out that vehicle. We can also probably clone it. A couple more. Alright, let's turn it off double speed just so things don't get too out of hand. And slowly release these ones. I might need some more over here in this small town as well. A lot of the names that generate here are a little ridiculous. Like Flunfingwell City. That is definitely a name. Plondworth. We have a Running Head. I'm assuming the W is kind of silent there. We have a Dratfield Menfing Bridge. Well, it does have a bridge, so at least it has that right. Alright, so we'll send this guy out now. And you can follow these around, so you can snap your camera to the carriage, so you can follow them on their glorious route. And if they break down, the carriages do smoke, so they do have a smoke break. It's about 15 minutes. They get 2 a day, and that way they don't unionize and throw out our industry. That's pretty much how that works. Alright, let's stop following that. Generally, I wait until the carriage hits the bus station, and then I'll send out the next one. That way they have at least some sort of spacing. Spacing is very key. So that new ship that we had offered for actually came out for real now. We could have had early access to it, but it's not something I want for fishing. So we'll leave it for now. This factory, this harbor, does produce food, which will be transporting eventually to the homes of our citizens for extra profit. And let's go ahead and send the next carriage out. Now this rating at each station is important because it governs kind of how many people will come here and actually sit at the station. So this one's poor, which obviously means we don't come here often enough. But as these carriages actually move through, that rating will actually increase. So 35, 36, you can see it going up. And then more people will start waiting there. And then they'll also wait for longer if your rating is better. But we're having some mediocre ratings right now. So that means we probably need to clone even more of these guys. In fact, might need to even clone one more of these, which we'll release now. Let's check our center hub here. 205 people waiting. It's a very good rating though, so they wait a decent amount of time for us. A lot of windows open here. Can get a little cluttered. And I'm pretty excited for this series because starting this early, you know, it gives us a lot of time to develop a territory. It gives us a lot of time to start getting these routes kind of really secured in a good fashion, you know. In fact, if we wanted to, we could probably start fishing at these 3 points. But I'd rather fish to this harbor because it's just farther away. It's just at a good distance than this one. Because again, distance traveled, more money, better route. So let's wait until some of these carriages pass the town because this one's still not a great rating on that one. We need to space them out a little bit better still. And you can set them to wait for a full load of passengers, but that might not be best just because it can create traffic jams with road vehicles, at least for passenger road vehicles. I don't like to do the full load kind of statistic there. So this requires stone and coal. We'll have to set that route up as soon as possible. Again, early on, boats. Boats is what you need and want for this scenario. Check the rating of this one. That one has a lot of fish waiting for it. So we might need a third boat for that one down there. Okay, accidentally minimized there. That was weird. I think I clicked out of the game for a second. It's never a good thing to do in the middle of a recording. Yeah, we're gonna need a third boat, I think. So we'll just go ahead and clone that. Get that headed out there. And the nice thing is, like, these models for these tall ships are very good. They're nice, clean kind of things. They even added some shadows for the rigging on the sails, which I think is a nice touch to have for the sprites. And of course, they get smoke breaks as well, just like the horses do. You know, their gunpowder might have caught on fire. Who knows? You know, it's a wooden ship surrounded by water, burning. Let's go ahead and maybe expand operations to that kind of fishing area as well. So we'll get another brig when we can afford it, apparently, because we're poor. We just bought another ship though, so that's mainly why we are poor. Let's check the ratings here. Okay, that has improved to very good. To good. Another very good one. Once you have it at very good, you pretty much don't need to make any more, as you might make it too cluttered. You might be picking up too many people at that point. Could cause some problems. Around 40, 70 people at a time. Wow, that actually dropped rather quickly there. But it might recover in time for the next wave. Yeah. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. I might have to get rid of one of these horses going up to the north, as I really want to grow this area mainly because it's has the most land. This little island isn't going to grow much for us here. So that has 20 fish waiting. That one has 50. Does this that pick up? Oh, no. It already has 50 fish. Wow. Okay, that's great. Great. Go ahead and get a new ship. So yeah, so as these boats are the best early on, they take the place of the rail system until about 1820. And then that rail system kind of becomes unlocked, and then you are able to use that mainly. And of course we get paddle boats, steamboats, you know, like Model T trucks in the 20s, which would be pretty cool to see, kind of putting around for us. I don't think I set the cargo on this ship, which is not a good thing. And it's just a relaxing game. This is like OpenTTD is just something fun that you can do, play for a bit, let it run, simulate, let your town grow, plan major intersections and changes for when you have heavier traffic, things like that. So let's change this to fish before we forget. Send that out. We'll simulate it a little bit here. Down here, Plondworth is growing about every 100 days. Get them down to 1 day. Your goals, definitely let me know, as I would like to, you know, kind of achieve something great for you guys. And of course, your suggestions and possibly names for cities, anything like that. Always happy to involve you guys with the builds and things. So I think that's a good place to kind of stop, introduce you guys to the game. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always. If you all enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe if you're new. Go ahead and check out my other creative builds, from Planet Coaster to Stone Hearth here lately. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.